My name is Alyssa Goodeaux. I'm a connection coach for those of you who haven't been here before. And it's really late and I'm bored and I can't sleep. So I thought, what better way to entertain myself than to give you guys an update on everything. So most of you have been here and know the story. But for those of you who haven't, I'm going to go over it a little bit. And if you want like more details about like the actual journey and that kind of stuff, there are definitely other videos that you can go check out. But I had such an amazing breakthrough with therapy recently. There's been a lot of good developments happening, and everything is kind of coming together where I feel like I can start doing videos again, and I want to start doing them. And I kind of wanted to bring everybody in on the process and then kind of tell you guys where I've been at with my health. So, whenever I started with the illness and everything, I was at 120 pounds, and through the dysphagia, the anxiety that sits in my throat, I dropped all the way down to 67, and I've slowly, over the last 6 months or so, gained all the way back up to about 104 pounds, and that was just a couple weeks ago, so I've probably put on a couple more since then. So, I'm so excited. I'm starting to get a little bit of my life back, where I can go to church a little bit more regularly. I can enjoy a family outing once a week. Just little things here and there that are kind of like, yay, I get to enjoy life again. And one of the other really exciting things is that part of my healing at the moment and testing with foods and things is I am going back to more textures. And this is a really big, development for me, because it's not just soft foods, it's not pureed foods, it's not, none of that. It's actually going to like a restaurant and having even just the tiniest bite of something and getting it down and not panicking and it not getting stuck, and just having to deal with all the things. And it's been really exciting. It's only been for about a couple weeks, and it's been very slow going because it's really hard for me to keep going with it, but it's been really good. But one of the most exciting things, I've been feeling like I need to get back to doing these videos and get back to making, with my channel and the podcast and, just all the things that I wanted to do with Connected Coaching Academy and just coaching in general. And I feel this pull for it. And it was so great because not that long ago, I'm in my therapy session, and my therapist, we share the same faith, so we're both Torah observant. And so she emphasizes a very spirit-led session. She embraces praying whenever we need to pray. If she feels like she needs to tell me something in the moment, she will. We don't always have like the set agenda. We might have plans going in, but if they need to change, we're super open to that. Very spirit-led, and it's fantastic, amazing. I just love her so much. And so I'm talking to her about how I'm just so frustrated because there are so many times and ways that I have thought, how could I have gotten this sick whenever I felt at my best? Because I was taking probiotics for the first time in my life. Didn't know what they were beforehand, but I was taking a lot of probiotics and a good multivitamin and a couple other things, getting some of my nutrition on track, not entirely, but I was starting to go that direction. But I felt amazing, you guys. I mean, I had so many health problems before I had started the supplements and stuff, and I just couldn't figure out how somebody who went from literally having every symptom under the sun, from like endometriosis and cysts that would pop, like burst every single month. It was so miserably painful. I can't even express it to you. Like different hormonal problems, like just the fluctuations of them, having irregular periods in general, outside of endometriosis, just not being able to sleep well. If I did wake up, I was never rested, no matter how much sleep I actually got. Just all the things that you can possibly imagine. Depression and anxiety. And so I'm taking these supplements and I'm thriving for the first time in my life. Like, I'm actually looking forward to exercising and like running a mile without getting tired. Just all the stuff. Like, I'm taking back my life, right? And this channel is going good. And even though I hadn't really done it a long time, I was already getting some momentum with subscribers and viewers, and I was just so excited about all the stuff that was happening, and just really finally getting to be passionate about something. And I got sick, where slowly foods would get stuck. I all of a sudden would almost choke on something and need a Heimlich maneuver. Like, it would almost get to that point. Or, I mean, just like crazy stuff would start happening where I couldn't ingest the food that I wanted to ingest anymore. And my body would be so tight. Like, before I really started the supplements, it was just, I could feel so much tension happening in my body, and it was like my head would be physically exhausted, and I would just like, because I just couldn't hold it up anymore. Like, my head was just too heavy, and it was just so much of that, like, that I didn't know was stress. I didn't know that it was stress, and I would just like fall asleep in the middle of any conversation, and I was just thinking like, well, it's my gut health, and and like, there's a lot to the gut health brain health axis, right? That gut brain axis, there's definitely things that play at play there, but so much more of it was anxiety and stress than I ever knew. And so whenever I had this conversation with my therapist, and I'm like, I just don't understand how in the world did I go from this thriving, I was handling stress so much better, and I was taking back my life, I felt assertive and confident, and I wasn't being a jerk, and I was starting to develop like the good mental health practices. I hadn't gotten that far with it yet, but I was just gaining so much momentum. And she just kind of like, I don't know if I've ever told you this or not already, but whenever your body is in that trauma stress response, you can't deal with it, and so your body packs it into the cells in your body, and for you, that sits in your throat, and whenever you're ready to deal with it, it starts coming out because you're ready. And what she was saying was aligning with something that my doctor, or my nurse practitioner, she was saying, because I went to her just a week before that, and I was saying, hey, I've done therapy for several months now, but I'm thinking about medication. Like, maybe it's something that I need to really start considering. And she tells me, it sounds like you're mentally ready to deal with the stuff that you're going through or went through, but your body is getting in the way. And I thought, yes, that is the perfect description, because I don't feel like I'm dealing with a lot in here a lot of times. Like, I just don't. But my body knows it. It feels it. Because your body doesn't forget all the stuff that you put it through. So it just, everything kind of started to click. And it was such a moment of relief and excitement, because it was like, I didn't do something wrong. All this time I had thought that the supplements had caused it, or I just didn't do something good enough, or if I had gotten something right, then I would have been fine, and it never would have happened. And it doesn't work that way. It really doesn't. My body is just finally trying to get me to deal with the stuff that has gone on in my life, and I didn't do anything to cause it. It's not my fault. Now I can just develop the tools and skills to deal with it, so that way my body can let it go and process it and get it out. And that's so exciting. So, we're talking a little bit more about this, and she, all of a sudden, she feels prompted to speak more with me about this. And she goes, I can't help but think that maybe you feel it the most in your throat because your voice is your most powerful asset, your most powerful tool. Or, in other words, the way that Hashem has gifted me. And I couldn't help but, it was so profound, It was something so profound because I always kind of related to the story of Moses where Hashem is like telling him like, hey, I want you to do this. Are you willing to do this? And they're going back and forth. And Moses is just kind of like, yeah, but I don't talk that well. And Hashem didn't actually care that much. He was more just like, are you willing to do it? Because we can make it happen if you're willing. That's all I need to know. I need to know that you're ready to sign up for this, and we'll make it happen. And it kind of feels like that in that sense. Not that I'm a Moses. I need to give that disclaimer. Nowhere near close. But I always resonated with him in that sense. Like, I am not a good speaker. I'm incredibly awkward. I ramble. I jump all over the place. I say ums and oohs. And if you've ever taken a speech class, you know that that's like the biggest number one rule that you can ever break is don't say I talk a lot with my hands because I'm Cajun, and that's just how we're raised. I mean, just all the things. I am not a speaker. But something about what she said just resonated. Because I did start this channel, and I did start a podcast, and I did start my business, and all of these things are different ways of using my voice. And I knew that it was good, because even though I'm, even with, I don't know, I think I was making content for maybe 6 months or so before I really got sick. Even with just that amount of work, I didn't get super far. It's not like I was a sensation that blew up overnight. But even with that, there were so many people who would, even now, they come back to me and say things like, I really missed these posts, or this really resonated with me, or I'm so thankful for this that you shared. Just little things that I know mattered. And even if it was just one person, it mattered. And I think that's something so important, is if we feel like that we are given something that we need to share, then it doesn't have to necessarily be on a big grand scale like we always assume that it does. Because we think like, oh, I'm going to be a teacher or whatever it is. And we think far and wide is what we need to accomplish. And it's not. Sometimes Hashem literally just wants you to speak for one person. And that might be you. But it might be for one other person. But it's important. It's important that we obey, because whatever it is, he wants us to speak it, and he needs us to, and it's going to be good. So if we just do it and let him take care of the rest, good will come from it, because we know that that's his character. So while I'm, wrestling with this and going through this and getting excited again, I'm really looking forward to picking up this channel, but I can't help but have this pull back where I go, like, let's go through all the self-doubt talk, right? I'm a woman, so there is a little bit of that, like, that stigma. And I know it's so stupid. Women have so much more ability and rights than we ever did before. But there is always that stigma of like, well, if you can't teach, who should you teach? And, there are always parameters around it. And it's just something that holds me back. That I struggle with, I should say. And then, of course, I don't know enough. Who am I to be teaching anyone anything, because I'm far from perfect. So much of that baggage. And, like, yeah, I can admit, I still have so much to learn. And I'm probably not qualified to be any kind of teacher right now. I totally accept that. But if I'm willing to work with Hashem, then we can make it happen. So I can do all the courses. I can study with my scholar friends, get some help whenever I need it, do the degrees, whatever that looks like. I can get more knowledgeable. I can start praying more to get more of that spirit connection, that relationship happening. Just really develop it in so many ways that actually can be something really good. Where I could eventually call myself worthy of being a teacher. And in this process, I'm also struggling with, but what do I look like? Because there's also a lot of the baggage of I have been malnourished for a long time. I almost died consistently for 3 years, and I'm lucky. I am a living testimony of what Hashem can do, because it wasn't me. It wasn't me that kept me alive. It was Him and all the people, I mean countless people, who have made meals, donated, shared causes. I mean, so many things. I can't even begin to tell you how much support I've had. And it's just kind of incredible. And yet, there's still that drawback of the way that I look. Because the reality is, malnutrition affects your teeth, it affects your weight, it affects your cognitive function even. I mean, there's just so many things that it impacted for me, and it's hard for me to look past it to say, hey, I'm still worthy of being hurt, even though I don't look perfect. So this is my way of kind of dealing with that and saying, you know what, I know that I am not going to win any beauty contests right now, but while I'm getting the work done, I'm going to let it be a testimony that I could have been dead. And if that means looking a little ridiculous right now, if I have to look a little ridiculous, but I got my life out of it, okay, sign me up. The cosmetics will come later, and that's perfectly fine. So, as I'm working through all these things, and as I am studying and becoming better, and hopefully maturing more, and building a really strong prayer life, and just all these wonderful things. And also, not just that, I'm also still going to school for my natural health stuff, so that's been super exciting and super fun. I still have a couple years to go, but like right now, I am finishing up some anatomy and physiology and a business class, and if you're friends with me, you know how much I am just struggling through some of these courses. But next will be iridology and another anatomy and physiology class, and I'm actually really looking forward to them because they're just really fun. And then hopefully, I will be able to take plant identification the next semester, and I am super pumped about that because I really like plant ID. So lots of good stuff happening, and as I'm learning all these things and as I'm growing and developing, I just kind of want to start sharing more with you guys through that, because I want to start coming back and I want to start being consistent and I want to be better than I was before, and I think I will be. And I think one of the main places that I want to start off with is some of the mental health aspect that I've grown with, just because it's so much more important than a lot of people realize. The clients that I work with and the people that I work with in my group for like Candida and that sort of thing, so much more of their health is actually impacted by their mental health rather than their physical health. And there's room for all of it. There's a connection through all of it, but it's so much harder to get through the physical part whenever the mental part is just not willing to get on board. Because we tell ourselves these things, and we tell ourselves certain things for a very long time. And so it doesn't change overnight, but whenever you can have a couple of tools, because I'm not a health professional, like I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychiatrist, a therapist, I'm none of that. I'm just a holistic wellness practitioner. So with all that being said, I want to offer some tips and tricks that I've learned through this process, through therapy, through my professional health team, that have just worked really well. So hopefully that will be next, and if not, maybe a couple other fun things will happen in the process. But I just look really forward to getting back in touch with you guys and building this up again. And if nobody watches, it's okay. I'll have it for myself because it's fun for me. So anyway, I think that's everything, but if you have questions or if you just want to talk, whatever, That would be great. And I miss you guys, and I hope you have a good night.